Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down the absolutely incredible 365-day transformation of Jamaican sprinter Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. We're going to show you exactly how drastically life can change in just a single year. We're looking at a journey from being literally sidelined and absolutely terrified of competition to claiming an Olympic gold medal in the 100-meter dash just 1 year later. So if you've ever felt like your goals are just completely out of reach, get ready, because this timeline proves what a massive difference a year of extreme intentionality can make.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Shelly-Ann has this philosophy that perfectly sets the stakes for our explainer today. She says, for the person who is chasing mediocrity, 1 year is small. For the person who is chasing greatness, 1 year is a lot. Now that forces us to ask a really uncomfortable question right out of the gate. Which one are you chasing right now? Because if you aren't intentional, 365 days will pass in the blink of an eye. But if you have that time and you actually make it count, if you fundamentally change your outlook and your approach, well, 1 year is an incredibly vast landscape of opportunity. It is literally enough time to completely rewrite your story. To really understand the peak of this story, we have to start at the baseline. The year is 2007, and we're at the World Championships in Osaka. Shelly-Ann actually made the relay squad for Team Jamaica, but she was there strictly as a reserve. At this specific point in time, her mindset was, in her own words, small. Her dreams were small, her confidence was small, her entire intention for going to Osaka wasn't to dominate, it was just to be there. She was physically present at a world-class event, but mentally, she was completely on the sidelines.
6. Think about that number for a second. In the world of track and field relays, being the sixth person means you are on the absolute outside of the dream. You aren't number 1, 2, 3, or 4. You are only called upon if someone gets hurt or just outright refuses to run. The chances of actually competing? Incredibly slim. But here is the truly fascinating part about her mindset at this stage. She was actively hoping they wouldn't call on her. She felt the weight of the moment was just entirely too big, and she was simply not mentally prepared to shoulder it. But then, the unthinkable happens. The coach calls her up and says, "Yes, you're running." And her reaction, it wasn't excitement. She cried. As she later admitted, she didn't want to be responsible for any mishap in the relay. She was just crippled in that moment because the fear of dropping the baton in the 4x100 relay, the fear of making a mistake, it was paralyzing. She absolutely did not want to be responsible for the failure of her 3 other teammates. She was terrified of the responsibility that comes with actually stepping into the arena.
But here's the thing. This moment of absolute terror, it became the exact emotional pivot for her entire life. This is the moment she stopped shrinking from the pressure and decided a massive change was required. Instead of focusing on the burden of carrying 3 other people's dreams, she had a revelation. She realized she was so tired of others debating if she was good enough to run or if she was going to drop the baton. She wanted to take the pen back, She wanted to write her own story.
This right here is the absolute anatomy of extreme ownership. She made a conscious, deliberate decision that she wanted to be responsible for her own win or her own loss. If she stood on that starting line, she wanted to own the outcome with her entire being. She completely refused to let coaches, teammates, or any outside circumstances have the power to choose her fate anymore. And by completely accepting the possibility of losing on her own terms, she simultaneously unlocked the power to win on her own terms. Nobody could take that away from her.
So the crucial point is, a psychological realization just isn't enough on its own, is it? You can't just change your mind, you have to change your actions. She returned home from Osaka, and she had to translate this new, empowered mindset into grueling daily physical discipline. A year of greatness isn't built in a single day. It's built through relentless, unglamorous consistency.
Immediately upon returning home, she executed a complete pivot. Step 1, she totally changed how she ate. Step 2, she hit the gym with this renewed, grueling intensity. Step 3, she committed to 5 a.m. starts because she adopted a mindset where she simply refused to lose. She literally decided that someone was going to have to physically drag her off the track. These aren't just ideas, these are the specific actionable pivots that bridge the gap between being a terrified reserve and a true, undeniable contender.
It all boils down to this almost brutal definition of consistency. Becoming disciplined at the small things, showing up every single day, and doing the required work so you don't get humbled. There is this incredibly painful experience in life where you get really close to what you want, but you fail, simply because you didn't put the work in. It is so painful to want something deeply and not work for it. By showing up every single day at 5 a.m., she was actively insulating herself against that pain. She was guaranteeing that when her next moment came, she would be physically and mentally bulletproof.
All right, let's fast forward exactly 1 year. It's the 2008 Olympic Games in Beijing. Now, going into these games, she was still managing her expectations a bit. Her initial dream was really just to make the finals. But her internal state completely transformed. She wasn't that crying, fearful athlete from Osaka anymore. Stepping up for the individual 100-meter dash, she arrived at the Olympics happy, content, and deeply aware that she finally held the power to win.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how she actively engineered her own environment for success before she ever even stepped onto the track. She deliberately spoke kindly to herself to build that internal strength. She intentionally exuded this positive, powerful energy. And honestly, most fascinating of all, she sat in her room and told a teammate, "If I win, I'm going to do this. I'm going to jump. I'm going to scream." She was already visualizing the victory. She was effectively setting the stage for what was to come. Her mind was already living in the reality of a win.
And this brilliantly illustrates the staggering psychological contrasts we've been tracking today. Look at this. In Osaka 2007, we had a reserve who cried, feared responsibility, and held on to small dreams. Fast forward just 1 year later to Beijing 2008, and we see an athlete smiling, claiming ultimate ownership, and visualizing the win. This isn't magic, folks. This is literally the compound interest of 365 days of 5 a.m. workouts, extreme ownership, and positive self-talk. She transformed from a woman hoping not to run into a woman absolutely thrilled to be in the moment simply because she had prepared so ruthlessly for it. When Shelly-Ann finally walked up to that Olympic starting line, her entire reality shifted into one singular, powerful thought. It was me against nobody, because if you want it, you'll have to beat me for it. Talk about unshakable confidence, right? She was smiling and completely at peace. She tuned out all the noise, the crowds, the competitors. She heard nobody else. Her mind knew it, and her body knew it. She was about to run the race of her life. She had done the work, and that victory was already hers to claim.
Which brings us to the absolute most important question of this entire explainer. What will you do with your 1 year? We've just seen rock-solid proof that 365 days of extreme ownership, disciplined action, and a flat-out refusal to lose can turn a terrified reserve into an Olympic champion. The time is going to pass anyway, right? So what's it going to be? Are you going to stay on the sidelines, or are you going to put in the work so you don't get humbled? The clock starts right now. Make it count.